It's time to study. You sit down, ready to focus. But within minutes, your mind starts to wander. You check your phone, scroll through social media, respond to messages, and before you know it, half an hour has gone by and you've done nothing productive. It's not long before you start asking yourself, why can't you just sit down and focus? Is it genetics? Do I have a focus issue? Is there something wrong with me? Is this just who I am now? Scattered, distracted, and unable to learn? Look, it's not your fault. And I'm here to share the good news, and that is being able to concentrate is not genetic, nor a character trait. It's a skill, and one that can be developed through purposeful practice. Think of improving concentration like a baby learning to crawl, then walk, and eventually run. At first, crawling takes great effort and focus just to coordinate limbs. But with practice, it becomes second nature. And before long, babies have the strength and the skill to walk and then run as toddlers with ease. It's the same when you start exercising. In the beginning, even a slow jog around the block can be tiring. But with regular practice, you can build endurance and run farther and faster and for longer. Your brain can be trained in the same incremental way. So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to eliminate distractions, structure your study time, and train your mind to enter a state of deep concentration consistently. All right, let's get into it. You just have to work on one thing when you want to improve your focus and concentration: optimizing your environment. And if you stay to the end of the video, I have a small bonus for you that might really be a game changer. Ready? All right. So how do you optimize your environment? Imagine this. You're about to dive into a task. You're motivated, you're ready, but you can't find your notes. You waste minutes, even hours, just trying to get started. That's called a getting started issue. Or maybe you have no problem finding your notes, but what if every few minutes your phone buzzes and you instinctively unlock your phone and before you know it, you've spent 15 minutes watching videos online? You're still facing distractions. On one hand, you have the barriers to starting a task. These are getting started issues. And on the other, you have the constant disruptions once you've begun. These are your distractions. An optimal environment manages the both of these. By reducing the barriers to getting started and minimizing interruptions, you're setting the stage for peak concentration. Now, both elements might seem simple on paper. Just get rid of the distractions and make things easy to start, right? You're on the right track, and there's more to it. You have to be constantly fine-tuning the adjustments you make to your environment. It's an iterative process that improves over time. And to have a better idea of what I'm saying, let's meet Jane, a bright, hardworking student who often finds herself lost in a sea of distractions. She realized that her focus was slipping and she wanted to make a change. Jane started to slowly make adjustments to optimize her environment. Let's take a look at how this looks like over a period of 4 days. And as we're going through this process, remember to look out for the triggers to her issues and how to correct them. So on day 1, Jane sits down at her desk, scattered with last week's coffee cups, unfinished assignments, and various stationery items and books. Her phone's buzzing every few minutes with social media notifications. She starts her studies, but finds herself constantly picking up her phone or trying to locate the right book in the mess. After 3 hours, she's achieved only about 40 minutes of actual work. Frustrated, she reflects on what went wrong. When we look at Jane's studying environment, it's clear why she's struggling to focus. The lack of organization made things difficult to start. There is too much friction. And the constant buzzing of her phone, a major source of distraction. The clutter on her desk is not just physical. It extends into her mental space, creating friction every time she wants to dive into a topic. So Jane makes 2 changes. First, she declutters her workspace to reduce friction to getting started, organizing her books and her notes, ensuring everything she needs is within reach. And secondly, she sets her phone on Do Not Disturb during study hours so that she reduces the chances of random 15-minute social media breaks. Now think about your own studying environment and habits. Could you apply these tips to yourself? Let's jump into day 2. With a cleaner desk and no phone buzzing, Jane feels more at ease. She starts her studies and finds it easier to get into the flow. However, she still encounters a few hiccups. Every 20 minutes or so, she's tempted to check social media thinking, maybe there's something important that I'm missing out on. And then she wastes around 15 to 20 minutes browsing cat videos and another 20 minutes getting back into serious studying. Jane also realizes she keeps having to get up and grab reference books from a shelf across the room. By the end of her study session, she's managed about 1.5 hours of effective work in a 3-hour slot. It's better than before, but there's still room for improvement. Knowing that she cannot kick her habit of going on autopilot of opening her browser and typing in YouTube, she decides to block access to websites instead. Essentially, she's making it difficult for herself to get distracted. She goes as far as installing a website blocker on a computer and her phone, setting it to block social media sites during study hours. While the website blocker doesn't cut off the autopilot reflex of jumping onto YouTube, at least it cuts off the actual access to the time-wasting videos, which reduces that distraction time. And she also relocates her most frequently used reference books to her shelf beside her desk. The easier it feels to get started on something, the faster and more likely she'll do it. Now, I want you to ask yourself here, do you waste a lot of time surfing social media when you're studying? Is a lot of time spent trying to gather the materials you need, even though you know where they are? Could you implement these tips to increase your focus? Let's see how Jane manages on day 3. The physical adjustments to Jane's workspace are now obvious. With no access to social media and all her study materials within arm's reach, she's genuinely making progress. But about halfway through her session, she starts to feel restless. The environment outside her room, the sound of the TV in the next room, the chatter on the street, seem to disturb her peace. And after wrapping up her 3-hour session, she assesses her performance. While the first hour was productive, the noises start to get to her in the subsequent hours. And in total, she accomplished roughly 2.5 hours of genuine work. Yes, there's progress, but there's a subtle enemy at play here: ambient distractions. Recognizing this, Jane brings another 2 changes for day 4. She invests in a pair of noise-cancelling headphones. She changes her study hours to early morning when it's quieter both inside and outside. These 2 actions are super important in maintaining a clear headspace and helping you concentrate. You often can't control the source of distractions, but you can limit your exposure to them. Now ask yourself this question: will changing the time of day you study improve your focus and concentration? It might not always be possible to study in the morning, especially if school starts early. But the point is, can you move yourself away from the distractions so that they don't interfere with your studying? It's always easier to be away from the distractions rather than learn how to filter out distractions. So back to Jane. Now being equipped with these noise-cancelling headphones plus an early start, she finds a sense of peace in her studies. However, as the hours progress, she finds yet another challenge. Her energy seems to dip, making it harder to concentrate. The cycle never seems to end. Reviewing her day, Jane realizes that while she's eliminated external distractions, she's not addressed a vital internal factor: her energy levels. She had skipped her lunch in her rush to start early, leading to decreased energy as the hours went by. And with this insight, Jane prepares for the next day by ensuring she has a balanced lunch with low carbs to fuel her study session. A balanced meal helps ensure that she doesn't face a huge food coma wave that I'm sure we're all familiar with. Also, Jane schedules short, planned breaks to refresh and recharge, preventing prolonged energy dips. This is a great move that I suggest all students take. Having short and regular breaks helps keep you energized and maintain high levels of energy even throughout long study sessions. Do you see what's happening here? While Jane made significant progress over these days, it wasn't an overnight change. The iterative process will take time. And while this example only spans 5 days, realistically, it could take longer, maybe a week, maybe even a month. But the key here is to not give up, because each time you are improving, putting in the reps and also building good habits. Also, just because you've settled into a better environment doesn't mean that you won't find other areas of improvement. The environment optimization process is an ongoing one. Remember, it's not about creating a perfect environment overnight. It's about understanding and fine-tuning, step by step, day by day. So if you ever find yourself struggling to focus, think of Jane. Look around and ask yourself, what's in my environment that's helping me? And what's hindering me? And most importantly, what can I change for the better? If you stay till this portion, here is the bonus I promised. The top tools and apps that can help you stay on task. And I know that you'll love this. So we've discussed the power of environment optimization. But what about those small technical tweaks and tools that can really give you that edge in achieving laser-focused concentration? The first thing to use is a distraction list. What's a distraction list? It's exactly as it sounds, a list which records all the distractions you face throughout the day. Maintain a distraction list on a notepad and immediately write any forms of distractions you face into it when studying. And don't use a phone to store your distraction list because, well, for obvious reasons. Other than a distraction list, you can also use apps like Rise, Toggle, and Cold Turkey. These can be real game changers. These softwares help you track how much time you're spending on websites and apps. I won't really get into the detail about how to use these apps, but Rise, Toggle, and Cold Turkey has made it so much easier for me to track my time, maximize my productivity while blocking those pesky distractions. It helps you know where time is leaking out of your study sessions. And after you know what websites or apps that you're getting distracted by, you can implement website or app blockers. By the way, if you're currently using an app that has similar functions and it's working for you, stick to it. Any app that helps you understand where your time is going or keeps your procrastination in check is great. But if you're struggling to find apps or tools to help you with your focus, I really suggest checking those out. And just for the record, we're not sponsored by any of them to say this. We're just recommending these apps because apart from me, our students have had a lot of great success using them too. So to sum up, first, you need to optimize your environment, which involves systematically modifying your space and your habits to support productivity. Like Jane, there are several things that you can do to improve your study environment, like decluttering your workspace, blocking distractions like social media, gathering necessary materials nearby, and scheduling your study time strategically. The main point to keep in mind is that optimization takes time, but each adjustment builds momentum. And lastly, you should consider using helpful tools like distraction lists, concentration apps, and don't forget to have breaks to recharge mental energy. This will help enhance your focus even further. I hope you found this useful, and if you did, I'd love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below, what's your biggest distraction while studying, and how are you thinking of overcoming it? If you need some extra motivation, we've left a link below of a free checklist to help you optimize your study environment. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you want more proven study tips.